We are called to order. This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, the State of New Jersey the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey on February 27, 2018, adequate notice of this work session, regular meeting was provided as required by law. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it
one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Unfortunately, I believe it was 2 days ago, William Howard, the father-in-law of Councilman Carl Wright, a former councilman and a former mayor, passed away. If we could have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. That was in lieu of an invocation. That was our invocation. Okay. Madam Deputy Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Councilman Gattari.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yeah.
Councilman Passad.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson. Councilman Vasanella.
So, as people know, I have the habit of trying to start meetings on time. We are late. There was a major IT problem today. The software that prints the agendas and distributes the agendas failed, and that held us up. Our deputy clerk has done a monumental job at getting things ready for us in reasonably good time, and I thank her for that. As I just said, Councilman Wright's father-in-law has died, so he will be not here tonight, and Councilwoman Chanel Robinson was receiving an award at the county, so she went to receive that, and she will be here immediately after that. And Councilman Vasanella should be here fairly soon. Councilman Galateri, did you have something you wanted to add to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for Section 15, for resolutions to be voted on separately, I have two items that I'd like added. First, resolution number 18-89, authorizing the Sustainable Jersey Grant application for the police vehicle idle management system. Second item is resolution number 18-90, authorizing substantial amendment number 1 for community development block grant program annual action plan for 2017 and 2016.
So I take that as a motion to add those items to the agenda. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. We are adding those to the agenda. The reason they weren't on the agenda is for the same software issue. Council should have copies of those resolutions, which you've not seen before, so at some time you may want to peek at that, and if you need further explanation later on, of course, our manager is always on top of these things, and he can explain. So there are no commendations or proclamations. We are on to public discussion. Do I have a motion to open for public discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion on that, all in favor of opening for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open for public discussion. 5 minutes per speaker. No yielding of time. May only come up once. Please state your name and address. Mr.
Bill Connell, 25 Spring Street. I don't have a topic. Would anybody like me to have a question for me? No? No. All right. Nobody? You have no questions at all?
It's usually the other way around.
Well, I know. I'm trying to see if I can switch it a little bit. All right. So, Mr. Bornlacher, during the budgeting hearings, you were talking about the recreation funding, and I know that you added, there was, I forget what it was, but there was a additional item added to the rec budget, and Councilman Reich expressed concern about keeping the fund liquid, for lack of a better, keeping it, and you expressed very positive that it would not be an issue moving into the future. And I wish I could remember exactly what it was I was talking about, but I was wondering, your tone kind of caught my attention. I was wondering why you spoke of that so positively.
Because I'm sure that we won't run out of money in the rec trust.
Okay. So the youth center, I saw the presentation. I thought it was great. It's a very expensive item, but it's not really for me to, it's for me to look at and assess, but I think it's a positive thing, and I think the community as a whole needs to look at it and say, do we want to do this? And but the only thing that really concerned me is its continual funding. Okay, I know for 3 months a year I do volunteer work, and it's like running a company. Okay, you have people that have certain jobs, you're circulating around, you're communicating. But that's 3 months a year. To put $14 million into something, it needs to have a plan. Okay, it needs to have funding. It has to, not 2 months, not 6 months, it needs to be continuous to spend that kind of money. Otherwise, you can put an addition on the senior center. So that's the only thing I would be concerned about is going forward, it has a plan and a very solid one. And other than that, I thought it was very, very nice, very nicely done. And I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cano. So that actually was, you can come on up as I talk. That actually is a concern of all the council. And that was discussed, the beginning of that discussion started at last night's financial oversight, and it's something we're working out and looking at, and we will not borrow a dollar or put a shovel in the ground until we know that we can sustain programs there. You're absolutely right. Building a building and not being able to sustain programs there, or bankrupting the town by sustaining programs there, would be foolish. We believe it seems reasonable that we can do it, so it's not like, oh, we did this, spent money on the plan, and then said, oh, I hope we can pay for it. No, we're reasonably sure that we can do that, and in fact, we know we can do it. We are now looking at how intensely we can do that. But you're absolutely right. We need a business plan, and we are moving forward on that. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Bernadette Marr, 4 Norris Road, Somerset, New Jersey. I have 2 topics this evening. One, as a member of the task force against compressor station 206 and the Nessie Northeast Supply Enhancement Project, I just want to remind everybody that the draft environmental impact statement will be coming out shortly, and following that we will have a 45-day period to intervene and comment, and we need residents to be concerned to come out and to do that. And we're also looking for volunteers to read parts of the DIS to identify issues, missing data, and questions. So anyone who has areas of expertise that might be helpful, please contact the task force. The second item is, I wanted to say at the last meeting, but it was kind of a busy meeting, but we had attended the Mayor's Climate Summit in New Brunswick, and it was really very good presentations, a lot of great information. And one of the items that sort of I was sort of interested in, it was the mayor of Milburn, I believe, did a presentation on purchasing energy as an aggregate, as a community. And I think it was Milburn and maybe 3 other towns at this time are doing that. So what happens is because the sheer numbers of the townships, there's a lot of bargaining power. And so for price and also to purchase green energy, it's something that we might want to consider. And I was just hoping maybe the council would look into this a little bit further and see if that might be something that might work for Franklin Township. So that was all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I just address that real quick? So we are a member of a cooperative that purchases energy in the aggregate now. So what we are doing that through a cooperative purchase agreement that the township is a party to.
I think the program she was speaking
I
of.
understand that, the one we've discussed in the past, that one. Yeah, but we do purchase in the aggregate
Yeah,
now.
what
Not
the
not
municipality purchases.
The municipality, we buy our energy
Right.
as part of a consortium, and not the
It's-
residents.
Something over 20% from renewable sources, I know.
Linda Powell, excuse me, 22 Buffer Drive. I'm actually probably going to echo a lot of what Bernadette said with a little different twist. I was also wanted to thank Mayor Kramer about the idea of having this mayor summit, and Ed Potasnik and Randy, I forget his first name, from
Solomon.
Sustainable Jersey. What?
Solomon, I believe.
Solomon, for organizing it, and I learned a lot. And one of the things that I was also don't know much about, but was interested in, was this aggregate energy. It was five townships in Essex County, one of which I grew up with, and which is a small town, Verona. And I was just wondering. I spoke with a woman afterwards who's also works with Sustainable Jersey, and I usually don't remember names, but her name was Quirky, so I remembered it, Nancy Quirk. And she was explaining that some people, when they hear about it, they kind of have a negative reaction because they think that it's government controlling their energy source, but actually the industry controls their energy source anyway right now. But that it was green in two ways, of saving money and also saving the environment. So I thought that this, being that we are being so progressive environmentally, it might be something worth looking into for not only the municipal buildings, but for the residents. I'm sure there's a lot of things I don't know about it, but it seems like something that would be interesting. And while I'm on the idea of environment, we're moving along with the Franklin Township Task Force. We've been in conference calls with other groups, other environmental groups and other interested parties in New Jersey and New York. And we're all preparing for the draft environmental impact statement, and we all need help, and we need engagement of the township and the residents. And we're hoping that we'll have a lot more interveners and a lot more e-comments on the FERC website. And you can find information in detail on our website. And the only thing that's not right on the website is the calendar of our meetings, which has changed. But it is right on the township website. So if you go to www.scrap, SCRAP, Nessie, NESE, which is the name of the project, .org. You can find out how to intervene, how to make comments. You can look at past conferences that we had, and we're continually updating it. So please stay involved, get other people involved, and help us keep our township safe for residents and other living things. Okay, thank you.
Else wishing to speak?
Skip Schaefer, 2 Lair Terrace. Good evening, Council. Just a couple questions. Every year you bond to pay for road paving in the township. I was just wondering who chooses what roads get paved every year? Is there a way for citizens to nominate roads for paving every year? Is there a way to post the list of roads you've chosen somewhere on the township website? I've looked, I've never
It's
seen
on the
it.
engineering page.
On
It's
the
always there.
engineering?
Always there.
Okay.
Mhm.
I tended to look at Public Works.
It's an engineering project now. But
Okay.
it's actually shifting to Public Works, so hopefully in the future, so you probably see it in both places.
So the master list is there along
Mhm.
with whatever progress
The-
is
no,
made throughout the year.
The streets that are chosen annually are there by the list that are chosen annually to pave based on a number of factors. I'll let you finish, though, not take up your
Okay,
time.
but no progress reports made throughout?
Yes, absolutely. They're updated, it's updated.
Okay, so it's engineering.
Mhm.
Okay, never looked there. Next item. Seems like our new governor is sprinting toward making marijuana legal in our state. And I've noticed, I've read several articles already where certain townships have either passed ordinances or will be passing ordinances, or at least having conversations on these ordinances to prohibit the sale of marijuana within their township borders. Have you had any of those discussions yet amongst yourselves or with the police department? May have been too early, but if you haven't had those discussions, do you plan on having them in the near future? I've noticed on the website that there's been a job opening for a 911 telecommunicating position for almost 18 months. And I'm just wondering, why is that so hard to fill, that position so hard to fill? Or has it been filled and the posting, it just hasn't been taken down? Is our 911 department short-staffed at all? Is it affecting the performance of that department at all?
That department receives applications, and it's just an ongoing process. They're currently at full staff, but unfortunately, those positions also turn over fairly often because people begin to pursue other careers in law enforcement. So there's reasons why they leave. So we continually accept applications and resumes. So it's just it's right now they're at full staff, and we'll continue to receive applications for it.
Okay, so the positions are not open.
There's no current open position right now, and there was about 2 weeks ago until it was filled, and if there's another one in 2 months, we'll have applications on file.
Okay. Speaking about IT problems tonight, I thought this problem had been put to bed a long time ago, but last week I attempted to look at the February 13th council meeting online on Comcast Channel 29. I again tried to watch it this afternoon when it was on at 4 o'clock, and there's no sound. There's no sound. I thought we eliminated that problem several years ago, but apparently not. So if you weren't aware, I'm making you aware. No sound at all. The idle management system was mentioned earlier tonight. I believe that's to allow the electronics of a police car to continue without having the motor running?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and their computers and everything. Does it also cover heating and air conditioning
does.
for the
Yes.
car? Okay.
Yes.
Does the system pay for itself?
It does.
Through what, gas savings or?
Correct.
The company estimates that it pays for in a year. I always take those things and double them, so I figure they'll pay for themselves in 2 years. We're getting 4 cars as an experiment, 2 new cars, 2 retrofits, and we'll see how it does, and if it works, we'll move on.
Okay. And last item, again, green energy was mentioned a little while ago. Being in the industry, people are, they want to be green, but they also want to save money. Typically, those two things, at least in the past, have been mutually exclusive. If you contract out either on a personal basis or a commercial basis for green energy, it is more expensive energy than the traditional energy sources, coal, gas, nuclear. So you can contract out for a percentage of green energy, but the more you add, the less likely it is you're going to save money on your rates. So just an FYI. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the tradition is you hand them to the clerk. Fine.
Sorry about that. My name is Junior Romero with Food and Water Watch. My office is at 100 Baird Street in New Brunswick. I want to start off by thanking the mayor, Councilman Chase, and forgive me if there are other elected officials here that I did not recognize at the Mayor's Climate Summit. Thank you for joining us. We were glad to be one of the co-sponsoring organizations of that summit in New Brunswick. A lot was discussed there, a lot of great ideas that towns can take, that they can take regionally. Really what I wanted to talk about was our Off Fossil Fuels campaign. Basically, we started this campaign to reach out to elected officials from all across New Jersey and all across the country, urging them to support a very aggressive, progressive goal of getting their towns and urging their states to support a 100% renewable energy path. We picked this date, 100% renewable energy by 2035, because of the U.S. Conference of Mayors resolution being passed. Being passed in 2017. Nonpartisan group of mayors, U.S. Conference of Mayors, agreed on this resolution because it's what's needed to stave off a climate disaster. We're already seeing Russian permafrost and the Alaska permafrost melt. Areas that have been frozen solid for tens of thousands of years are now starting to melt. We're seeing viruses that have been trapped under frozen soil for so long now come into our world and endangering our societies. So we started gathering pledges from elected officials from all walks of public service, from school board to council to state senate. Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman is co-sponsor to a federal off-fossil fuels bill that gets us to this same goal, 100% renewable energy by 2035. And now we have New Jersey state bills that we're advocating for. And one thing that Atlantic City, which is a big partner of ours on other things like water privatization, is they brought up this resolution to get their town off fossil fuels. So we thought we'd reach out to other towns if it's something that they may consider. Basically, it's just urging the state. It's a resolution, a show of support to get New Jersey as a state off fossil fuels, supporting renewable energy policies, and we see that the governor already is, and we hope that the legislator will give him some bills that will get us there. But this is just the way that local towns can show their show of support, and I'm sure this council and mayor have passed other resolutions or ordinances like that. So yeah, just asking if it's something you'll consider, and we're glad to be a resource and answer any questions. Lastly, just want to reiterate from our friends at the task force, thank you for Franklin Township's continued partnership in fighting the compressor engine proposed for this area. The DEIS is coming out soon, and we look forward to being a continued partner of yours, and y'all being a continued partner of this coalition that ranges not only from New Jersey, but in New York City, that are also fighting this compressor and pipeline. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, Chuck Torano, 9 Westlake Court, Somerset. Good evening, Council. I'm Chuck Torano, President of the Franklin Township Baseball League. First off, congratulations to all the re-elected officials and the newly elected officials. So congratulations to them. Back in the fall, I was here thanking Council and the various departments for the installation of a beautiful new restroom down at the baseball field. And now I am here again to thank the Public Works Department, the Recreation Department, and of course Township Council for the installation last week of the 5 new sets of ADA compliant bleachers. I think that was a very, very important thing, that we got some fencing, we got some updated bleachers down there, safety. The league has actually spent almost $10,000 this year of our own money. We upgraded 230 feet of fence. We added 8-foot fences, safety factors. We did that last year, and we continue to put money into the complex each and every year. But of course, with open space and township council funds from the township, the approvals, we greatly appreciate everything that you do for us. On another note, what I'd like to do is personally at this time invite each and every one of you down to our opening day ceremony, which is Saturday, April 7th. Our parade begins promptly at 8:30. The kids march from Pine Grove School. The fire department will be involved. We have our normal Cindy Wade will be singing the national anthem. We're actually also trying to get the National Guard to come down and present the colors. And we also have reached out to the Franklin Food Bank to try and run a food drive the same day. It makes sense. We're going to have a lot of people down there, and it just made sense to try and get that done also. So a lot of good things going on down at Franklin. And the final thing is, I'd just like to remind everybody, we are Franklin's oldest, longest-running youth nonprofit organization program in this township. And this year, we are celebrating our 65th year. So that will prominently be displayed on our uniforms this year, that we're in our 65th anniversary. And we just want to continue helping the youth here. The program is strong. It continues to help and offer programs for boys and girls, actually ages 4 through 18. And most of you know that the 5 fields that are down there are maintained solely by the baseball program. So we try to keep funds at a real minimum, and the sponsorship around town is always fantastic. We reach out to the businesses, and they do a great job. So again, I just wanted to bring those things to your attention. I wanted to thank you again, Township Council, for your support, Open Space, Land Use, Recreation Department, Public Works, and anybody else that I might have left out. We definitely do appreciate all that you do for us, and hopefully we'll continue to do some more upgrades down there and continue to make it the first-class facility that it is, and it will remain to be. We get a lot of people from out of town that come in, and they can't believe that that park is that old and in that good a condition, especially the fields. You know, they just can't get over it. So we try to do a good job. We thank you for helping us out, and have a good night.
Excuse me, what time was it on the 7th?
The parade starts at 8:30. I would say the ceremony probably starts around 8:45, 8:50 down at the field. And I'll follow up with an email to everyone. So that well, this is like the official announcement. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, at this moment.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Jimmy Vassanella, I don't see him here, but in the land use meeting, he definitely moved this along. And I just want to give him a round there because Jimmy Vassanella did do something for the baseball league. He stayed on top of us, and Jimmy Vassanella, Councilman, 5th Ward.
Big opener. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? Public other than the press?
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one come forward, I make a motion we close the public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion, all in favor of closing public session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. And now we are on to council comments, and we shall start, right, doesn't seem to wish to start, so we'll start with Mr. Gellateri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only committee that I had, we met tonight with Public Works, Councilman Chase and I, so there are some initiatives underway, especially around stormwater remediation, joint work around there between, as many of you know, one of my goals is to continue the cooperation between the authority, the sewage authority, and the municipality, so we'll be proceeding with that. Also discussed road repaving, so I know that's a big factor, especially now. So there are some roads lined up, and they'll probably be published soon if they haven't been already. But it's still winter. It's warm out, but it's still winter, so we have a couple more months before we can get going on that. The other quick thing or topic that I want to quickly touch on was, and I've struggled with this for the past week, is I'd like to commend the police department on their work that they've been doing over the past couple weeks. not trying to bring light to the issues that have been going on, but they have been doing, in my opinion, I think a lot of others would share it, quick research and quick work to make sure that the children have been safe throughout the school, to go to school. So I would like to commend them. It's unfortunate what's going on and the trend that's been going on, but to make that the fact that they get something overnight, it seems, and that by the morning that it's ensured that the students are safe and can go and have a safe day and do what they need to, that's exceptional work. So I hope that this trend stops, but in the meantime, I would say that the police department continue to excel. So that's all that I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Olijaka.
Mayor, I have the privilege to take a tour of my ward within these few days. And when you look at it, it looks like we have more potholes than other past years. And two particular streets that actually attracted my vision on my side. One is just very close to where I live, Dinner Lane by Edith. There's a very big pothole there that I would like them to take care of that. And another one is Sinclair by 27. Those two roads are Sinclair by 37 is really requires an attention. And apart from that, other roads we can take time and fix them. But in actual fact, those two roads they need immediate attention. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Economic Development Committee met on February 23rd, and there were some highlights that I'll provide to the public. We're going to start our branding plan for the Davidson area as well as Hamilton Street. So we're starting to develop that branding plan to market the area, to let people know what we're trying to do in terms of improving our ratables in those areas of Franklin Township that we're specifically targeting for economic development. There was also a Hamilton Street meeting, and Vince Dominic came there and described what the zoning changes were going to be in the Hamilton Street area. The Hamilton Street Advisory Board accepted the updates and the input. There won't be any eminent domain in that area, and the Hamilton Street Board was on board with all the zoning changes. There's also going to be a construction department seminar that will be held at the end of March, maybe the beginning of April. We're working on the agenda. We plan on bringing in commercial realtors, Somerset Business Partnership, other entities that are going to be involved in economic development. And what we're hoping to do is become more business friendly, let people know about our construction department codes and requirements. And so when people come here and they want to bring new businesses into Franklin, they'll have a lot more information, they'll be a lot more educated. We'll have a upfront partnership with our businesses here in Franklin Township. We also talked about the Work Where You Live program, and apparently the Live Where You Work, Work Where You Live. I'm not sure which one comes first. That program started years ago, and we discussed potentially seeing if there was something we could do about that, but the program has gone defunct over the years, so we did explore that, and we did talk about that. Our next meeting is going to be held on March 16th. There was also some discussion about the PSE&G Bennett's Lane substation expansion, and I think it's being torn down. Is that correct?
They're acquiring the property at the corner of Dahmer and Bennett's to expand the substation.
To expand it. Are they tearing anything down?
There's a house there now, yes.
Oh, let you tear it down. Okay. So that's where we are in economic development. We also talked a little bit about the strategic plan, the master plan. And I also just wanted to say that we did have our finale Black History Month celebration on Saturday, February 26th over at the Senior Center, and it was sponsored by the Franklin Youth Initiative. Our mayor came over, and so did former Councilwoman Rosalind Sherman. She brought her grandson. Also, our deputy mayor was there. I'll let them comment on how if they enjoyed themselves. But we had about 30 acts. We had some kids come up from Baltimore, which was surprising, Philadelphia, and the acts got better the later it got. You know, you save the best for last, right? But we were standing room only, and the kids really, really had a nice time. And at the end, we literally had to kick them out the building. It was 11:30, and they were still making videos and posting them on Facebook. They're all over Facebook. They're getting all kind of views. That's what they do, right? And they were kind of begging me, please don't let this be the finale. Please don't let it be the finale. So we'll see what happens next year. More to come on that. But I do appreciate the fact that our kids are really participating in the Black History Month, celebrating their talents and like the fact that they like to showcase their talents. And they take a lot of pride in celebrating that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, it was a wonderful event. Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Human Relations Commission had a meeting last night, and we had the Board of Ed president come, and there was a lot of discussion about keeping our kids safe, and they certainly have a plan, and they've been working with the police department, and kudos to them, and the HRC is there to help them and partner with them in any way they can. The admin committee did not meet last time, but we will be having an admin meeting this time, and I would like that we get the county health officer, Dr. Musawa, there.
I believe I've already said that he's
Right.
already invited and
Right.
accepted, Councilman.
Right. And then beyond that, land use is tomorrow night, and the Community Foundation had no meeting. And you've heard already from the compressor task force, so I don't need to repeat. But yes, they do need resources, and their website is www.scrap-nese.org, and you'll see all the things that they're looking for. And Toronto, thank you for all that you do for our kids, and keep up the good work, and anything we can do is never going to be enough for our kids. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Chase, Dr. Councilman Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just had, beginning at 5:30 this afternoon, a meeting of the Public Works Committee. As Councilman Galtieri mentioned, he and I were the only council members there. We covered quite a number of topics, but first I want to mention about how streets are selected for paving. 3 members of the engineering department separately drive all the streets and grade them, A, B, C, D, E, and then these independent evaluations are put together into a recommendation, and the recommendation then goes to the Council Public Works Committee, and sometimes we go out and review the streets ourselves, particularly, let's say there's a number that are rated C, but only some of them can be repaved. In a given year, we'll go out and have our own opinions as to which ones should be repaved. So then finally this committee endorses a proposal for repaving, which is then funded by council. One slight problem this year is normally we get a grant of around $250,000 from the state towards repaving a particular street, usually a substantial street like part of Demont Lane, and we didn't get that this year. So either we'll have to cut back or we'll have to spend a little more of our own money in the budget to pave the streets that we expect to repave, but we have to see the list first. what is recommended for repaving. The committee meeting, we considered the problem of some pumps that discharge to the street, which is not generally a problem if the street has a good slope to it, but we had problems on several very flat streets this winter of the water staying there and freezing, and then a large part of the street was just ice. So we're an ordinance has been drafted requiring that some pumps be directed in some other way in any new construction, and actually even existing ones should be directed in some other way, although if the street is, as I say, sufficiently sloping, if there's not a problem, we're not going to bug the homeowner about it. But we do need, in some cases, to deal with this problem. We've been inquiring about replacing the bulbs of various types in street lights with LED bulbs. And basically, although the street lights belong to PSE&G, we would have to pay for replacing actually the whole head of the street light, but PSE&G is applying to the BPU for a special tariff to subsidize making this replacement. So we're going to wait and see that the subsidy goes through, and then we will be trying to identify those street lights which are the most expensive to operate, the highest wattage, so that we can choose those to replace with LEDs. There's been a problem sometimes with excavations or tunneling under sidewalks in the township right-of-way, but not in the pavement, under the pavement itself. To do work that involves opening up the pavement, contractors have to get a permit from the township. They haven't had to get one for work in the right-of-way, but not in the street, and this has caused some problems when they haven't restored the street properly, the right-of-way properly, or perhaps the sidewalk has collapsed. So we're going to add a requirement for getting a permit to excavate even in the right-of-way. If the excavation involves both the street and the right-of-way, it'll just be one permit. But this will, and the requirement of the permit will require them to restore the right-of-way to the condition and sidewalk to the condition they were in before they excavated. Our firehouses and first aid have no water meters. It's not that we want to charge them for water, but we do want to know how much water they're using just in case they have a leak, which ought to be fixed. So we're going to install permits install meters at the firehouses. The Route 27 water main to Rocky Hill, which we've been trying to fix for a number of years, we have now advertised for bids. We're finally getting there to deal with this. It's suggested that we publicize insurance programs for private water lines, in other words, the lateral from the township main into the house. Many townships do essentially advertise to the public the availability of such insurance, and they generally feel it's a good idea, so we're going to look into doing this also. We're also looking into the problem of on-street parking during snowstorms, trying to provide somewhere else for people to park during snowstorms so that we can plow the streets properly, particularly narrow streets with houses close together like Home and Ambrose. I also want to explain a little more about what Ms. Meyer and Ms. Powell brought up, energy aggregation. What was brought up at the Mayor's Summit, a number of towns in Bergen County are joining together. This is a program whereby the town essentially advertises first for a consultant and then for energy providers to become the supplier of electricity for all the residences in the town. And as a result of this, you get a lower rate. And as Mr. Pavano said, if it's renewable energy, that costs a little more, but our hope is that if we can get a good contract for the whole town to be provided electricity from a single purveyor, that even if we get 20–30% renewable, it'll still be below what you're paying now. The electricity is still delivered by PSE&G. If the power line goes down, it's still the responsibility of PSE&G to repair it. That will not change, and you would still be charged by PSE&G for the delivery of the power, but separately, but on the same bill, you would be charged for the power as provided. Council has looked at this some. We haven't really reached agreement on doing this yet, but if the public asks for it, I'm hoping that we will get consensus of council to provide this and perhaps contact other neighboring towns so as to form an even larger buying unit to do this and get an even lower price. But the intent would be to lower what township residents would pay for their electricity. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've covered quite a bit.
Thank you. Councilman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
By the way, Councilman, all of council expresses their sorrow about your father-in-law, and we had a moment of silence for him, his prior position.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
We have a land use meeting scheduled for tomorrow. And some of the things that I want to bring forth to that land use meeting are concerns that we have in the 4th Ward. One is the parking around the community center, which Kimberly Francois, at-large councilwoman, and I have been talking about where we can park them, how we can park them, and move forward. So I definitely want to thank our councilwoman at-large for working with the residents in the 4th Ward to move this project along, because it is an outstanding project, and we do need it in the 4th Ward. So thank you very much. Next, we have resident-only parking. Now, this is a hard thing to do, because having resident-only parking means not just in front of your block, but I need a long stretch in order to put resident-only parking. Certain streets would require that, because I live on, say I live on George Street, take for example, and I used to have one car, but now my daughter has a car, so now I have 2 cars. So now I have one on the driveway, one on the street. But now the guy that lives around the corner, he's got 3 cars. So he does the same thing. Where's the 3rd car go? Around the corner, in front of my house somewhere. So now I can't park. My neighbors can't park because everyone has a lot of cars. So we have to look at resident-only parking, but the problem is, I need everybody in the neighborhood to buy into this. If the neighborhood doesn't buy into it, can't do it. I was talking to our township manager, and he was telling me how resident parking was actually working. So that point, I need everyone. Mr. Vornlocker, you want to say something?
No, I'm letting you finish.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
we do it on a couple streets in your ward, as you know.
Yeah, and this is where I got it from, because I thought we were going to have to come up with a brand-new ordinance, but he told me it's already there, so we can move forward. Resident-only parking, Part 2. If any of you have been on Hamilton Street, you'll notice that we have new construction, and that's part of the economic development. Vince Dominic is our coordinator there, and he's doing an outstanding job. I must commend him in all facets, because we are definitely moving forward. But again, we're going to have a problem with parking, and I want to get ahead of the curve, not be behind the curve. So looking at that, I was talking to him about what can we do about that parking. Now, the building will have parking. During the day, it will have parking. But the residents that live above the stores, they'll have parking too. But again, 1 car, 2 car, 3 cars. They'll pay for 1 car in the garage, but where do they park car 2, 3, and 4? That's my issue. So with Vince Dominic, who will also be at our land use meeting, we can work on that so that, before everything is built out, we will have that part finished. Speeding. This is a hot issue. Got to get a good seat for this one. Everyone speeds in Franklin Township. It all depends on where you are when you do your speeding. Now, sitting outside of, say, Winston Avenue or Buttonwood or somewhere around there, cars will zip. And if you say, well, where's the police? No, the police can't be everywhere. The police can't stay there. And we need to recognize that. So we as a council have to take proactive measures to stop the speeding. One of the things that I thought of was speed humps and speed bumps, but talking to our township manager once again and a former police officer, that was a no-no, because there you have a situation where cars got to jump up and down on the road. Snow plowing, that's an issue, because now the snow plow has to raise the blade to go over the hump. So what I want to go back to our land use meeting and our public safety committee is look at flashing lights that say, hey, this is your speed, slow down. And I know somebody's going to say, well, what about the electricity? No, you put a solar panel up top, takes care of everything, even though you do have to put some juice to it. Just in case it's a cloudy day, solar panels will help out the situation, and we can move forward on that. Also, the city of Philadelphia, they have a system where it just might work in Franklin Township. And it goes this way. It's still a speed hump, but it's not boom, boom, boom. It's a very long, elongated, I got a tongue tied today, a long hump. And the reason why it's a long hump is it gradually goes up and then gradually goes down. A truck, a fire engine, it's spaced out so they basically have no problem just going right around, going on it, no problem. Street plows, no problem, because it starts out on a gradual and then it ends on a gradual. So that's something we have to look at. And I'm going to apologize to my council members because I'm coming straight from work. And my beautiful presentation, as you can see, I had my little presentation I was going to do, but unfortunately, I left all that beautiful paperwork at home. So the next council meeting, I will bring it in. I just want to let you know what we were going to do in land use and also public safety that I think would have to look at this. But definitely, I want to jump on that speeding, try to slow it down. We have a lot of cars out there, especially with a lot of kids. Hamilton Street, around the school system, I've seen cars zipping, just moving real fast, and I fear for the kids. And that's why we've come up with sidewalks. And I want to thank my fellow council members for moving that along, putting sidewalks up. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I believe, like Dr. Chase, I am done.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Chanel Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief with my comments and committee reports. Housing Authority, we had our retreat and we have begun to gather our short-term and long-term strategies. Hopefully by next meeting, I'll be able to share those strategies with the public. But we are in great condition. So as far as the government and the budget, we are able to pay our bills in Housing Authority. Kudos to Councilwoman Francois. I'm tired. Councilwoman Francois on a job well done with FYI in the Black History Program. There was so many youth, wall-to-wall youth. They were having a great time, and they were saying, no, let this not be the last time or the finale. But it's just a great thing to see our young people engaged and involved. And I want to continue in that vein. Along with that, with the mayor and Councilwoman Francois, we were panelists hosted by the Franklin High School Black Youth Program. A phenomenal job that the students are doing at the high school. We do have a great amount of students who are engaged and involved, and we want to continue to pique their interest. They are our future. We want to be able to pass the baton over to them and let them be at the helm, but they do have a voice, and we have to make sure that we're listening and paying attention. So kudos to the president of the program, Jariah McCray. He is doing a phenomenal job. That young man, I believe, and president of the school board is nodding her head. I believe he sits on the board as a junior or a student resource. Phenomenal student. Just goes to show you the students and the caliber of students we have in Franklin Township. The other thing is coming up, I'll yield my comments for financial oversight, which we met on last night, and I'll yield those comments to the mayor, in which Councilman Chase and Councilwoman Francois sits on that committee. And I look forward to another great month coming forward to February. And I do apologize for being tardy, but I was at the freeholder meeting where they acknowledged women elected officials in preparation for Women's Month and Women's Day, honoring women who are elected officials, Women History Month. So that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Board of Ed president here. Thank you, Ms. LaCourte, for attending. She's the liaison to council, and she is taking that responsibility seriously. Congratulations to Councilwoman Francois on the incredible evening of dance for Black History Month. Incredible talent there. Jariah McCray, he's 17, and I begged him not to run for mayor because if he ran against me, I might have to vote for him. He's an amazing young man, and he put on an amazing event. We will hear great things about him, and that event, I think, will grow. It was an honor, literally an honor, to meet him. When he first called me, I thought I was talking to someone in their late 20s or early 30s because of his poise. And then I saw him at a Board of Ed meeting. He's the student liaison to Board of Ed. And I saw him up there, and I heard the name, and I was flabbergasted. But, okay. Roads, Mr. Chase, Mr. Schaefer asked about roads. Mr. Chase answered most of the questions. We certainly welcome citizen comments about their roads, but they shouldn't necessarily be disappointed if we don't pave their road that year, because we are looking at many, many roads, and there's really very little politics in it. It really, we, for the most part, take the recommendation of the engineers that go out and grade the roads, and we try to get them in order. When we started this, we used to have F grade roads, and we took care of those, and we've taken care of the Ds, and we're about halfway through the Cs. And my goal, my personal goal, is that every road will be an A or a B road, and then when it drops to a C road, it gets paved. I'll talk a little more about roads when I get to the budget. Mr. Schaefer also asked about marijuana. There have been no serious discussions in town that I know of. Maybe other council members have chatted about it. We really have to wait to see what the state does, and we could plan, and they could do something entirely different. I do not think it is sailing through. The governor's meeting with some opposition. That doesn't mean it isn't going to happen. That doesn't mean it is going to happen. But there are no, I know of no serious discussions about that. The manager, I'm sure, will pass on to Justin, who is probably watching right now, and he on his own will look into no sound on Comcast. I thank Food and Water Watch for being here. I thank them for their initiative. No fossil fuels by 35 is ambitious, but you don't get accomplishments by setting low standards. So I do appreciate their efforts. I echo Mr. Galatieri's comments about our police force. They acted swiftly, decisively within the law. I couldn't be prouder of them. Energy aggregation. I do think it's a great idea. I thank you for championing it. Councilman Chase went over the details of it. I don't need to say any more. To Councilman Wright, the radar speed signs. They're a great idea. I think over the last couple of years, we bought 20 or so.
It might be that many at this point. It's over 10. And so are you going to explain? Because then you'll save me the trouble of trying to explain the science of your science project.
Yeah, so what we aren't, that's exactly what it is. So we have bought a number of them. And the question is, how well do they work? Do people really slow down for them? Do they slow down for them while they're up and then they stop slowing down for them? If it's up for a while, do they get used to it and keep going? So I don't want to go into all the details of it, but I have designed a protocol that we can test that and look at that, and that way we'll know if we're wasting our money on buying more, or whether we need to, or whether they're a good investment. And so it's an experiment to see how effective they are. So hopefully I will be, in a few months, reporting on that. The last item I have does get back to roads, and this is from the financial oversight, where the main topic was the budget. And what we want to do is, we were going to spend $2.5 million on roads. So financial oversight unanimously recommended that we do $2.75 million. So in other words, that $250,000 that we were not funded by the state grant, we will pony that up so we can get as many roads done. And we are intending to put that same amount from our cash balance, our fund balance, into you could call it tax relief, but we're spending down our fund balance by $2.75 million, which happens to be the same amount of roads. So you could say we are spending cash for the roads, but there are many capital items, and money is fungible, so how do you say exactly which one it's going to? But in my mind, we are paying for the roads in cash, and this is the Ken Daly doctrine. Mr. Connell, I was sitting in that very seat that you're sitting in when I heard the Ken Daly doctrine many times. You bond for things that you are buying once or infrequently, and you pay cash for things that you are doing yearly. So certainly it would be ridiculous to bond for salaries. You're paying them every year. We are paving roads every year, so it is better to pay cash. In the long run, you save money. It increases your budget that year, but in the long run, you save money. So I, several years ago, came up with a 50-year plan to be able to get to the point where we could do this, and we've done this in 5 years. That doesn't mean we're going to do it every year, but I completely think that this is the right thing to do. A candidate last election cycle was against it, and he and I debated that a bit at council meetings. The last item, which everyone will be interested in, was taxes, and the Financial Oversight Committee makes a recommendation to council, and then council decides what will happen with taxes. It was so let me review what we have done in the past 10 years. There have been times that one year we actually raised taxes by 10%, and that's municipal taxes, which is only 15% of your tax, your property tax. There were other times we raised 3%, 4%. 2 years ago, we raised it 1.75%. Last year, we raised 0%. And this year, the recommendation of the Financial Oversight Committee is to increase taxes by 0.5%. So well under what used to be the 2% cap. We are in great shape financially in that we are able to spend cash for roads, thus reducing bond payments, and be able to raise taxes only a small amount. I am very happy with that position. Council may decide to do something different, but that is the recommendation of the Financial Oversight Committee. And as best I can tell from my scribblings, that is the end of my report. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that I'll echo your words on street paving and Councilman Chase's words on street paving. I don't think that there's anything more to be said about that. I don't recall that I have any other things to answer from public, so I'll just go into some quick kind of informational bits here. The Township of Franklin, if you are interested in receiving mulch from the township at your home, we will deliver 5 to 8 cubic yard deliveries at no cost. It will be delivered to the end of your driveway. It can be either leaf mulch or wood mulch. If you go to the township website or contact the Public Works Department at the main number, extension 6290. There's morning deliveries between 7:30 and 11:30 and afternoon deliveries between 1 and 3. This mulch is created by the leaf collections and Christmas tree collections that we do through the fall and winter. So it's our way of disposing it, and it's our way of recycling it, and it's our way of giving it back to those who gave it to us for no cost. So you can get your mulch from us. So potholes were mentioned by Councilman Onajaka and others. 'Tis the pothole season. On our township website, there has been, since this website was created several years ago, an opportunity for residents to go online to what we call the portal and sign up for the portal, and then make entries that on whether really a wide variety of things, not just potholes being one of them, road maintenance issues and the like. Apparently, some people have resisted doing that. We also, you can make a general comment to the website, and I get quite a few of those. By the way, those come to me, so if you wonder where they go to me, all of them.
Okay.
In fact, every notice that comes in for every department might go to the department head, but they also go to me, so I see them all. A new option on the website as of today, actually, and it is in the center buttons at the top of the main page, is an opportunity now to report things to the township without really telling us who you are. A simplified method of reporting potholes. You have to give me your email address so that if we have additional questions for you to try to locate what it is that you're reporting, you can report streetlights out, tall grass, guide rail problems, sign problems, streetlights, traffic lights, and the like. And all we ask is that you give us an email address so that if we have to ask you a follow-up question, we can do that. I just warn all of you that if you expect to get follow-up emails on that method of reporting, you will not get them. That's not what the purpose of this is. If you want to know what we've done about the problem that you've reported, then I urge you to just do the quick registration for the portal. It's not a heavy lift. I did it. And then you can report things, and you'll receive follow-up emails from the department that it's reported to, because the system is automated. When they go in and they take action or close things out, it automatically generates an email. So we have that. And the only other thing I'll add, Mr. Schaefer's street resurfacing. Currently for 2018, there's 18 streets listed on the pending that are in the planning stages for the spring of 2018. And there were a number of streets prior to that are listed as complete. It's right on the left column when you go to the engineering page. One of the things is street resurfacing projects, so you can go check that out. And we try to keep that as up to date as possible. As I look at it right now, there's some older ones that probably should be removed at this point, like Campus Drive, which was done earlier in the late summer of 2017. But you'll see when you go there. And that's where all of the streets are that are pending as well. And I just want to say that I agree with the mayor in this. It really is not political in any way, shape, or form. I know Councilman Chase mentioned that the Public Works Committee reviews it. The Public Works Committee being comprised of the township engineer, the manager, or myself, the Public Works manager, and council members. But really what this is about is there is a very, well, I can't explain it because it was created by an actuary. It really is an algorithm-driven program that was created in-house to evaluate based on constant inspection annually by, like Councilman Chase said, several different people, that data input done, and then it spits out a list of streets and says this is their grade and these are the ones you should be paving. And it also takes into account things like the last time it was paved, the age of the road, the type of traffic that's on it, it's a classification. And so it's well beyond me, but it works, and it does identify those streets, and that's what we try to stick to. Where there's an issue is when we can only pave 10 Cs and we have 20 on the list. That's really where there's the decision-making by actually going out and looking at it real time is where the decision is made. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'm going to do a Councilman Wright and have a few more things. First of all, the Warriors basketball team won tonight against East Orange. Is that right? at
You stole me, all right? You
60
stole me.
68 to 36, but I was there prior to coming here.
You stole me.
It was about 30 to 8 at the time I left. So they were playing great, and obviously they continued. Something I've been pushing for a long time, and it is finally true. Our current email addresses are at, wait a minute, twp.franklin.nj.us, and that's a lot. But now, you can still reach us at that, but you can now reach us at, and it works for everyone's email, at franklinnj.gov. franklinnj.gov. So we will, as our cards run out and our stationery runs out, we will reprint them with franklinnj.gov. The last item is a serious one, and that is the BOE President, Nancy LaCourte, who is here tonight, and myself, along with the police department, are hosting a symposium, a safety symposium at the middle school at 7 o'clock on March 21st. There have been a number of actions, issues around the country and some in our schools, and I'm not going to get into any details here. That's for the police to comment on. So please, if you have concerns, and I know many of you do, we will be discussing them at that meeting. Again, March 21st, 7 o'clock at the Franklin Middle School. That's all I have. Sorry for having to come back.
Mr. Mayor, can I just come back on one of the things you just said? I just want everyone to know that the old email addresses will continue to work. So whatever you have there's aliases for the email addresses. So this will be a transition that obviously makes life easier for everyone. But the old ones will still work if you have it in a email that you're replying back to and what have you.
Moving on, we have no council discussion items. We have no minute notes or minutes. We do have bills to pay, so approval of the warrants in the amount of $22,258,826.95 on February 27, 2018 is presented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Motion for payment.
Mr. Mayor?
So I heard first from Councilman Wright. Yes, sir?
Since you've opened this up, I would like the township manager, if possible. I know I'm in the mix backwards around, but resolution number 18-74.
So I believe you are talking about the consent agenda. We are on warrants right now.
I'm on warrants. I'm sorry.
So
Too far down.
We will get to that. So do I have a
Motion for payment.
motion?
Second.
Moved and second. And any discussion on the warrants? Anyone want to ask about a warrant? Seeing none, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Passad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
How about me?
Sorry, Councilman Wright.
Yes.
You're just too cute to Councilman Wright to vote. Actually, has been pointed out to me by the manager again, an issue with our technical problems that we're having tonight. We are supposed to have a CDBG hearing tonight, I am told, and we do not want to forget about that. So do I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion is carried. We are now having, so clue me in exactly how are we having her speak? Please come and speak.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
so this is a resolution that requires a public hearing before it can be adopted, so you need merely to, much like you would do with an ordinance, open for public hearing and comment resolution I have it listed as 18-90, which is a resolution authorizing a substantial amendment number 1 to Community Development Block Grant 2017 and 2016 Action Plan, Somerset County Community Action Program, SCAP.
So, thank you for that. Before you speak, so given that this was not on the agenda, are we properly legally advertised? for
Yeah,
this?
I asked that question of the manager. He tells me that it was
So yes,
actually
the legal advertising was done for this public hearing. Everything was properly noticed and
It
advertised.
just didn't make it to
Just,
our
this was one of those ones that it needed to be on the paper and the system broke. I
Okay.
couldn't get it on the paper for you.
As long as we're properly advertised.
We are.
Before
have a
we
motion to
have
open
Ms.
it for
Mitchell,
public hearing?
Well,
Excuse me.
she's
bef-
not the public, she is the.
no, before we go, I just want to say one thing.
Open to the public. Yes, sir,
I
Councilman.
know Ms. Mitchell. She does an outstanding job every year. She scouts everything, vets everything, brings everything to us in a fashion that if we were all she breaks it down little nuggets so we all understand it. And I want to thank her for her years of work here in Franklin Township. So thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you. Go ahead. Yes, we. Zing! Very good. So it's my understanding this was money that was left over. So this is an
It's
extension, reprogram.
It's reprogramming.
Okay.
It's reprogramming the money.
Okay, and now we are acquired a public comment portion. So do we have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open to public for this item only, discussion of the SCAP program, CDBG money. Turn on your mic, please.
Mr. Mayor, seeing
Yes.
no one come forward, I'd like us to,
You're making a motion to close the public portion.
absolutely.
Seconded.
So compliant. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That portion of the public comment is closed. And now I have to figure, we just did the warrants. So there are no first readings, no ordinances first readings, and no ordinance second readings. So we are now on to the consent agenda, unless I've lost my mind, which is entirely possible. Do we have a motion, I'm sorry, the resolutions items A through O, as listed on the consent agenda, as presented to the Township Council for adoption, do we have a motion?
Motion for passage.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda items? Mike,
Mike.
please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
As per my usual thing, I asked the township manager some questions. That way you, the residents that pay the taxes, would know exactly where that money goes. And so with that, Number 18-74, the Interact Public Safety Systems Police Department Mobile Computer Software Maintenance, CY 2018, amount not to exceed 22.8.
He sent me, he tricked me. He tricked me. You didn't tell me that when you told me two other ones, but I know this one, so I'll give it to you.
Did anyone ever listen to Car Talk? They had a thing on there called Stump the Chump.
Stump the Chump. That's not the one you told me, but I know the answer to this one too. So that is the software on the mobile computers in the police cars that allows the police officers in the field to communicate with police headquarters, to look up through all of the different sources information on license plates and driver's license and what have you, to do warrant checks, and also to write their reports. So that's what that software is for. That's the mobile computer software for the police department. And that's our annual support fee to the company so that we have maintenance support.
Number 1880, resolution accepting and adopting the Central Jersey Municipal Joint Insurance Fund 2018 Safety Initiative Plan.
So that one doesn't cost us money, that one gets us money. We are a member of the Central Jersey Joint Insurance Fund. That's where our liability and workers' compensation and insurance like that is gotten through. It's a group of municipalities that pool together their resources so that we're not self-insured, but we're insured by a joint insurance fund. We have a safety program as part of that insurance fund that we participate in. That means that people come out and do things like inspect our work zones for our public works department, and we participate in quarterly safety meetings to review accidents. And all of the things that we do resulted in us receiving a payment of $7,600 in rebate from the joint insurance fund this year for all of our safety activities.
And the last one, Resolution 1887, amend the CY 2018 temporary budget.
So before we adopt our full budget for 2018, we have to operate on a temporary budget, and the state allows us to budget a certain amount of a percentage of our 2017 budget, and then once we reach a milestone, we're allowed to add to that budget until we adopt the full budget for the year. So this is the second stage of that, and we're adding to the temporary budget so that we can continue to do business and pay our bills until we adopt the full budget. The reason we don't adopt the full budget in January is because we're required to wait on the state budget and the determination on state aid before we can complete our budget, which usually takes place in March.
That's what I was going to ask you. Thank you.
Any further discussions or questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Gualtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Passad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella? Councilman Wright?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we are now moving on to resolutions voted on separately. Resolution 1889, resolution authorizing the Sustainable Jersey Grant application for police vehicle idle management. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. This is, as I said before, devices to allow cars to have their engine off but keep all the electronics running. And we are installing 4 and we're applying for a grant. And I guess we need to have a resolution in order to do that. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing no discussion, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Mr. Mayor?
Sir,
Who came
oh,
up
wait,
with-
whoa. Hold the vote. Yes, sir?
Who came up with that great idea?
I did. Well, actually, for having the idling control systems, both the mayor and I suggested that we apply to Sustainable Jersey for a grant toward this because I think we're enough ahead of the pack in doing this that we might get the grant. And This is particularly applicable to police cars that are doing what we call outside jobs. There's something, construction being done along a street, they have to have a police car there to protect it from traffic. And what you see nowadays is the car is running all the time so it can keep the lights flashing and keep the policeman in contact with headquarters. And this will allow the car to be turned off most of the time and come back on if the battery runs low, and come back on if the car has to go somewhere. But these are the older police cars that are used for this because they're going to sit there.
So credit where credit is due. The idea came to me initially through a citizen, Sid Lenz. Any other discussion? Once again, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Passad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella? Councilman Wright?
We're now on to old business, boards and commissions. Do we have any nominations?
We have
wait
to
a minute.
vote on 1890.
1890.
I thought we did, oh, you're right. We had the discussion on it, but we never voted on it. Thank you very much. 1890, resolution authorizing substantial amendment number 1 to Community Development Block Grant 2017 and 2016 Action Plan, Somerset County Community Action Program, SCAP. Do I have a motion?
Motion for passage.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Abstain.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Passad?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella? Councilman Wright?
Okay, we are now on to old business, boards and commissions appointments. Does anyone have a nomination for a board or commission?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want to nominate Stanislaus Jaraz, J-A-R-A-C-Z, to the Green Team. And I know he emailed me that he'd turned in his citizen leadership form, although I don't know that it's gotten out to the council. But we have a meeting tomorrow, so I hope we can appoint him. And this is the Green Team that works on our Sustainable Jersey applications.
Has the team made comment on him? Has the team, the people already on the team, have they made comments about him joining? Is he?
No, he did attend one previous meeting and was generally approved of. He's an expert, a great aficionado of electric cars, and he arranged the electric car presence at Franklin Day.
Okay. Any other nominations for that position? Since there's only one nomination, we can do it by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. Congratulations, sir. Any other nominations for other appointments? Hearing none, we are now on to executive session. The resolution 18-88 authorizing executive session. Possible litigation with Williams Corporation. Do we have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. We're now going to an executive session. At this time, Township Council will adjourn to executive session. It says so right here. To discuss contract negotiations. What? Wait a minute. Right, thank you. Yeah, okay. Yep, thank you. Possible litigations with William Corp. There will be no other actions taken by the Township Council at the conclusion of this executive session. Therefore, the recording will stop now, because it says so right here. That will conclude the recording of the meeting. The only thing we'll do is come out, close the executive session, and adjourn. So, be well, Franklin.